This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. And Avoid the Maze is about your journey through life. And as some of you know, I have this affection with a team called the Panther City Lacrosse Club. And last year, I watched my first lacrosse game, and I am addicted. And as I just told my guest, who is Jason Knox, the last game, you guys won. You went into overtime, but you did a lot of scoring. Like that was phenomenal. So I want you to tell our guests a little bit about. A lot of people don't even know what lacrosse is. I mean, we know it's a sport, but even up here in Northeast Ohio, I know it's played in the high schools and some of the colleges, but we don't have a professional team. But you're
Right.
playing for the Panther City Lacrosse Club. So how did you get interested in lacrosse and what took you to Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse started for me back when I was just like a wee little kid. I started picking up the stick. I think I was 2 years old when the first time I went to like an organized practice in Huntsville, Ontario. But yeah, it's been my life for so long. It's hard to kind of imagine a time where I wasn't playing lacrosse.
And
Um,
it's a bigger sport up in Canada than it
yeah,
is here in America, but it is catching on.
definitely. Yeah. So in Canada, there's two different types of lacrosse. There's box lacrosse, which is what we play at Panther City. And then there's the field lacrosse that most of America knows, especially in the Northeast, and through the NCAA and that sort of stuff. But I started playing box lacrosse. I didn't play field until I was about 10. So it was just heavy box lacrosse where I'm from. And a lot of the Canadians, I think, were introduced to field a little bit later, whereas it's kind of the opposite down in the States where people are introduced to box a little bit after they've played some field lacrosse.
Sure.
But yeah, it was good. So I grew up in a little town in northern Ontario called Huntsville. Played all of my minor lacrosse until I was about 16 in Huntsville, and then I got drafted to play Junior A, which is like a junior league in Ontario for Burlington, and then I played 5 years there. And while I was in Burlington, once I graduated high school, I went to a small Division I school called Hobart College, and I spent about 3 years there, and then had sort of a falling out, decided to transfer, and that's when I got picked up by Ohio State, and then I finished my remaining 2 years of my degree at Ohio State, and now I'm down in Fort Worth, Texas, playing pro. So yeah, it's been great. It's been a long journey, but it's been great. It's been awesome. I wouldn't have had it any other way.
So let me just ask this question coming from Canada to Texas. Do you like the winters down there better than you did up in Canada?
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely nice that I can go golfing on an off day now, whereas back home you probably don't see the sun for another couple months. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
totally,
good.
totally understand. Living off of Lake Erie myself, I know exactly what the clouds are like.
Oh yeah.
Now, so you played for Ohio State, you got drafted to Panther City. Tell me what that's like, because here you're playing college, but there aren't that many teams in the US. So did you really know that you were going to be able to go professional, or did you have a backup plan?
I mean, yeah, playing professional box was always kind of the plan, since I was a kid, just like a dream of mine. So yeah, that first year at Ohio State, after that year, the kind of the draft, mock draft and the placement drafts, and they had me going around 4 or 5. So that really kind of made it more relevant and more of a something that was going to come to fruition. So yeah, it was definitely in the plans, and I'm real happy that it's worked out the way it has.
So you guys started off in December. You played a couple of games at home. In fact, I was at one of your games that I really wanted you to win, and you lost by a hair. But it was still fun being in the stands. But then for a month, you guys were on the road
Yeah.
because your arena does the rodeo for the whole month
Yeah.
of January. So what was it like returning to Dickey Stadium and in front of the home crowd?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, anytime teams have kind of road trips, you see it in every type of league. But coming home, it's one of the best feelings ever. You get it feels more natural, especially that I'm down here. It's like an actual home game. Some of the guys that travel don't get that sort of feeling, but for being somebody that's in market, it's awesome. I get to wake up with my dog and my girlfriend and have breakfast and then walk over to the arena because I'm only a 4 minute walk or something like that. But yeah, it's great. It's awesome. The fans here, it's still growing. So every game we're getting more and more people out, and it's awesome. The better we do, the more fans will start to notice and start coming out. So it's been great.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I've noticed about lacrosse, depending on what team you're playing, it can be an extremely aggressive game, or it can be what I call just a competitive game. This last Friday night was aggressive.
Yeah.
Uh, what 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 changes that? Is that because maybe one team is stronger than another, or just because you just want it more?
I think it definitely goes into kind of both. Some different teams have different mentalities on how they want to play. Colorado's a very aggressive team. They've big, strong defenders, so they like to kind of enforce more so, but that also leaves them vulnerable to get beat on the backside, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a big game. We came off a tough loss to Saskatchewan, so it was like for the standings for all of that, it was a must win to get us back to even 500. So yeah, it definitely meant a lot to us, and I think we showed it. It was a great game. It was a lot of
It,
fun to play in.
it was a very great game, and all of us back home were biting our fingernails as you went into overtime, but I'm sure you
Yeah,
guys were too.
yeah.
So, being so-called the new kid on the block, um, what's it like playing with some of the veterans? I mean, obviously they've allowed you to score, which I think is great. Um, but do you feel do you feel really part of the team? What is the camaraderie like?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since I got there on day one, even Ryan Sheridan's also another rookie that's with me. We both had the same kind of feeling. We're just like, these guys don't treat us like we're 23-year-olds just getting out of college. Like they treat us like we're 30-year-olds or whatever the number is you want it to be, and just you're just a part of the team. So there's still jokes that get cracked about being a rookie and all that. You feel that sort of treatment a little bit, but you still know that the guys love you. So it's really easy to play, and the guys are so good. It's so easy to play with them. So it's great.
And and that you don't see in a lot of sports. So that is even more exciting for me because I know the culture of Panther City um, is very inclusive and nobody wants to leave anybody out. And that's one thing that I really fell in love with when I started meeting not only the players, but the staff as well. So one of the things I notice is different in a lot of the lacrosse professional teams is because the sport is still new, many of you still have day jobs. And
Yeah.
then on the weekend, you travel to play. How difficult is it to stay in shape then?
I mean, it's different. I don't really know if difficulty is the thing. You definitely have to plan your days out more. I'm fortunate. I'm actually coaching at TCU, so that's kind of my other job. So it's all kind of based around lacrosse. So it makes it pretty easy for me to kind of space out my days and make sure I'm getting shots in and working out and all that sort of stuff. So I'm sure for other guys who are working 9 to 5s, I know we've got a couple of them on our team. It's probably more difficult, but I'm sure they still find a way. I'm not exactly sure how, but I know they do. We see it on their whoops and stuff.
Yes. Well, and when we see you play as a team that seems like looking at you is like, well, you guys have been practicing all week because you can read each other very, very well.
Right.
It's the one thing that I find difficult in watching the game is I know you're tossing the ball back and forth to each other, but I can never tell where that ball is. That's how swift the shots are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's so fast. The game is so fast, and that's why a lot of people, I think, at least from what I've kind of gathered, is when new people come to watch the game, they don't really understand what's going on, but it's all exciting. So it's a weird game. It's really fun. It's really, once you get to know what's actually going on and the rules and stuff, it makes it a little bit easier to just pay attention to where the ball is. But yeah, it's a hard game to learn, but it's also really really entertaining. So yeah, it's good.
Well, I will give you that because the first time my husband and I sat and watched a Panther City lacrosse game, because we are in the Eastern time zone, it was coming on like 10 o'clock our time, but
Yeah.
we struggled through it. And the two of us are saying, what's going on? But we
Yeah.
were so into it that we couldn't wait till the next game.
Right.
And I don't really consider myself necessarily a sports fan, but when a game is that entertaining, um, yeah, I mean, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are in the Fort Worth area, Dickey's Arena is phenomenal. There's not a bad seat in the house, so there's no reason not to go see a home game. And if you live a distance like I do, you can always watch the games on ESPN Plus and get to love the game and especially get to love this team. So this is your first year. Do you have any big plans where your career is going to go?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a long career. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to take it one step at a time right now. Just kind of get my feet wet and get used to it. It's a crazy league because we only play on weekends and stuff, so it's so much different from coming from college where you're every single day. You're practicing, or you got workouts or conditioning or something like that. So it's definitely different. It's a lot of fun because you take away kind of the baggage that can happen throughout the week, and you just kind of show up on the weekend and you're ready to go. You're excited. Everything. It's awesome. I love it so far. So hopefully I'll be doing it for a very long time. That's the plan.
And I take it your girlfriend is a big fan, right?
She is. Yeah, she's a super fan. Sure.
Well, she probably doesn't have a choice, but I can see her being a big fan because it is a great game. Again, to all of you out there, watch the game. Tune in, go to a Panther City game. I know you guys are off this weekend, so you get a little bit of rest. But the excitement, my love has always been baseball, but baseball does not have the excitement of lacrosse. So just try it. You might like it. Do you have any words of wisdom for anybody out there who's saying, hey, this is a sport I want to get involved in? What can they do?
I mean, just by just getting into it. I mean, you fall in love not the first time, but the more you can get used to it. It's such a unique type of sport that it takes a while to kind of get the rhythm of it and get used to handling the stick, how the ball comes out, that sort of stuff. And the more you have your stick in your hands, the better you're going to get. I used to take my stick with me to public school, like middle school, all of that, and just play with it at recess. It was all I wanted to do. But yeah, just the more you play, the better you're going to get, and the better you're going to get, the more opportunity you'll have. So just start.
Well, it looks like that's what you're proving. And I am so glad we had a chance to talk to you and introduce you to people to say, hey, this is Jason Knox, and he plays for the Panther City lacrosse team. And there's no excuse not to get involved. You can go to a game in Fort Worth, or you can watch them on ESPN Plus. So have a wonderful day and enjoy your coaching today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
You take care too. Thank you, Karen.